Minecraft has been around for almost 2 decades at this point, and with its age plus the way the game is updated, there is going to be some features that get cut. And with the game's long development history, yeah, there is quite a lot of removed features across the many different versions of the game, and I'm going to be talking about some of these today. From the famous ones to the more obscure ones, today we'll be looking at the cut Minecraft features. Quick note before the video actually starts. I got all of my information for this video from the Minecraft wiki, so if I get a feature wrong, or if I get some information wrong, it's probably because it was on the wiki. But don't use this as an excuse to attack anyone who works on the wiki, or the wiki itself, as they're all just people at the start of the day. Now these first two are technically not features in an official sense, but I had to put these on here because I don't know when I'll get an opportunity to talk about them again. And those features are Farlands and monoliths. I don't think I need to explain what the Farlands are, as they are one of the most famous things to come out of Minecraft outside of the creeper and diamonds. You could get to them in an unmodded save, all the way up to beta 1.8 on Java and 1.17.30 on Bedrock, but on those versions they were moved past where you could realistically go. The most famous version of the Farlands are the Farlands that generate on the X and Z axis, you know, the big wall, but they actually can generate on the Y axis as well. Just they are double the coordinates away at positive 25,101,648. This version of the Farlands is called the Sky Farlands, and it has a sister all the way down at negative 25,101,648 called the Void Farlands. There's also the Fatherlands and the Farthest Lands, and it and so on and so forth. I do not have the time nor the mental capacity to explain all the Farlands in depth, so I'm just going to link an Ant Venom video where he talks about them all in much greater depth than I ever could. Okay, so now we are done with the Farlands. Let's talk about the other thing I mentioned. Monoliths. Monoliths have always fascinated me because of how odd they are. Monoliths are chunk errors where everything in that chunk basically gets shifted all the way up to the height limit, making this tall tower with a pool of water that goes down to bedrock. These are far less famous than the Farlands, but I personally think they're more interesting. They were removed very early on in Java Edition 1.2.0. Interestingly, these still actually generate on Bedrock Edition, past the coordinates 2,812,333, according to the wiki. Monoliths also didn't just spawn by themselves. Now yes, sometimes they did, but often they would form what looks like mountain ranges, sometimes with normal chunks in the middle of them, sometimes just completely filled up. Sticking to the theme of old Minecraft versions, for a bit now we're going to talk about InfDev. In older versions of InfDev, InDev, Classic, and Survival Test, instead of Bedrock, there will be an infinite sea of lava at the bottom of the world. Sometimes Bedrock could also be there, but most of the time it was just lava instead of Bedrock. Why this is the case? I don't really know, but it existed in the game for a bit anyway. Something interesting about this though, is that if you move an InfDev world to a newer release version, it will just disappear, allowing you to get access to the void in survival mode. So that's neat. Gears were first added in version, that. I don't know, but basically they were added in a version of InfDev. They had no use and could only be obtained by using an inventory editor, as they didn't have a crafting recipe. They were believed to be the precursor to redstone dust. There are several removed mobs, all coming from InDev, InfDev, and Classic versions of the game, such as Monster. Yes, that is what it was called. Monster was a hostile mob from InfDev that was unused in the code and could only be spawned using mods and map editors. It looked like Steve and would flail its arms around, like the player did in older development versions. The intended use for this mob isn't really known. I personally think it was just a mob for testing purposes. Other removed mobs are Rana, Steve, Black Steve, which was just the Steve model but you know, black, and Beast Boy from Teen Titans. No, I don't know why Beast Boy was in Minecraft for a bit. But yeah, these mobs were only in a couple of InDev versions as tests for a different art style. Okay, we're out of alpha and InfDev stuff now, so let's talk about some newer removed features, such as the horse saddle. The horse saddle was, well, a horse saddle that was in a couple of snapshots for 1.6, and that could be crafted using 3 iron ingots and 5 leather. I don't need to explain what its intended use could have been, as it's kind of obvious from the name, but these were likely removed due to the fact that normal saddles already existed in the game, so having the horse saddle would have been kind of redundant. The quiver was intended to be added in 1.9, as teased by Dinnerbone, but was scrapped for whatever reason. It was also in an earlier in-dev version, but had no use and was removed before inf-dev ended. I was going to talk about the reverted potion, but when I click on its link in the remove features section of the wiki, it just sends me to the potion's wiki page, and there is no mention of it anywhere, so I don't really know what this could have been or done. Let's talk about some Bedrock stuff, shall we? First off is the copper horn. This was in a couple of preview versions of Bedrock, and had 10 different versions of it, with 30 different sounds that could be played depending on what direction you looked while playing it. Copper horns were removed because they didn't live up to design goals of the devs. The Nether Reactor is also a removed item from Bedrock, and it's also quite famous. Back when Bedrock Edition was called Pocket Edition, the Nether couldn't be added in full due to limitations of mobile devices at the time, so Mojang made the Nether Reactor instead, which upon activation would spawn in the Nether Spire, another removed feature, and start spawning in nether-related items, as well as cacti, sugarcane, melon, and pumpkin seeds for some reason. And would also spawn in zombie pigmen that were always hostile, unlike modern versions. Nether Reactor was removed when the actual Nether was added to the Pocket Edition. And that's about everything interesting, at least, that has been removed from Minecraft. All the other removed features that I didn't list are either just aren't that interesting, or technical stuff like debug items. If you want me to talk about those removed debug stuff, then post a comment about it so I know there's actual interest. But anyway, that was removed Minecraft features, and I hope you enjoyed my video on this topic. Thanks for watching, and have a good noon, day, afternoon, dusk, night, midnight, or whatever time it is for you as of watching this. Bye!